Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're gonna take a look at the most recent patch applied to the Korean region of Lost Ark. A couple of things here concern us Westerners too, but most importantly and the most interesting part of it all are the developer notes in regards to the balance patch that was also applied with the content patch today. The devs are leaving notes for each class, why they have changed things and how our class is doing. So basically it's almost a free tier list straight from the devs, which have all the info, all the numbers, etc. The most interesting read I ever have to do in Lost Ark is read their dev notes. Of course, I'm gonna take you through the other things as well. I'm gonna give you the TLDR because most of these changes or additions are for endgame content currently in Korea, which we in the West are going to see the earliest in 1 year from today, if not later. So because of that, there's no need to dwell upon it. The hard mode of Abershud, there was another tier 6 raid that was added. Esther weapons were also added today and they look absolutely stunning. I've purposely avoided watching Korean streams today just so I don't spoil it for me, because these things, I just want to see them for the first time in my hands, maybe in 2023 winter or 2024. However, something that we might get in the West sooner rather than later is the pet ranch, which is a feature for your housing plot that was added with today's patch. This adds a whole nother dimension to the pet system in general, makes it into some sort of a grind, somewhat of a time sink. Very important to note is that the dev comments we're going to be reading in a moment, they refer to the endgame PvE content currently in Korea. So these changes were made with that in mind. Now, I don't see any reason why we in the West wouldn't get this balance patch as long as we have the imprints and the skills. Maybe not from day one, but not far afterwards either. Because of that, I think it's important for us to hear what they currently have to say about the state of the classes in Lost Ark. Yeah, we're gonna start with the Berserker, and they're saying that Berserker is stable in various indicators such as damage, survivability, neutralization, which is CC capabilities, and utility, which is the group utility, buffs and debuffs that every class has. Yeah, and then they're saying how they've changed it. A big change to Berserker coming from the one of their 2 imprints. So one of Berserker's imprints that was not really used that much was buffed basically in today's balance patch. And they also say we expect that you will be able to experience another charm of Berserker who uses the power of darkness through the Renew Madness engraving, which is this imprint that I'm talking about. Yeah, Warlord or Gunlancer for our Western version. The devs are saying that, let me just zoom in a little bit more. Warlord is an all-around class with high survivability, good CC and utility, and is currently showing excellent performance in content. The Warlord's active role in a party, as it is now, is consistent with what they have envisioned for the class, but considering all things, they have decided to tone down the Warlord a little bit. Destroyer is a class that we won't have straight from day one in our Western version, and the devs are saying that Destroyer has excellent ability to survive attacks, to do CC, and because of that it's performing great in content. However, having that said, because content now is very fast paced, mechanics are really fast, Destroyer is a very slow class, they have decided to increase the damage of some Destroyer skills just to get them a little bit more wanted up there and performing better in terms of raw damage. How much can they do with all of the mechanics and boss fights compared to other classes. Holy Knight or Paladin for us in the West. The devs are saying that Paladin's support ability has greatly improved after the new engravings and set equipment that were introduced, which is absolutely true. However, because people are not 100% satisfied with how Holy Knight feels in general, the devs have decided to change some skills to improve the flow of the class and also buff a couple of others. Yeah, Battle Master, something, or War Dancer for our Western release, something that surprised me. The devs are saying that Battle Master's index started to rise steadily, performance they mean by index, after the launch of the Corpse Commander. Now it has the highest average damage amongst all classes in the top content, and the damage variation depending on the player is also very small, which means that even a player who is not so experienced at War Dancer can also do an exceptionally good job in the higher tier content, which is not necessarily surprising because Battle Master is a very mobile class, a fast class, plus it was also buffed in terms of damage, so I'm not surprised that it does so good. I'm just surprised that Battle Master is here compared to where it was before when Destroyers were owning or whatnot. However, keeping all of that in mind, the devs decided to tone down the Battle Master by a little bit. Infighter, aka Scrapper for our Western version, the devs are saying that infighters show good performance in damage, survivability and utility, but recently the top 10% damage and maximum damage indicators in top content have been slightly lower, as in they're not really performing as well as intended. Accordingly, adjustments were made to slightly increase the damage at high points through the update of Advanced Strike Tripod. Soul Master, which is Soul Fist for us in the West, is a class that consistently shows high indicators in various areas. In particular, it has recently recorded the highest average damage index in top content, and the maximum damage index is also confirmed to be at a very high level. Considering all of this, they have decided to slightly nerf the Soul Fist with this particular balance patch. Lance Master, a class that again we don't have, a very popular class, an amazing class, a beautiful class, an overall almost perfect class, comparable to, in my opinion, to the Soul Fist in terms of perfection. We won't have it in the West from the get-go. The devs are saying that the Lance Master is performing as intended by them in the endgame content, and because of that they didn't really make any changes to the version of the Lance Master who can swap lances, I guess, to put it in plain terms so that all of you would understand. But they did make some changes to the imprint that allows you to only have one stance, and they slightly buffed that one as it wasn't being picked so often, not performing so well. The Striker, a class that we will have in our Western version, the devs are saying that is a class that shows excellent average damage at the highest damage index, but it tends to be difficult to show its intended performance until it has some settings. They mean until you have the imprints right and configure the stats right, etc. Therefore, by adjusting the basic identity acquisition amount, identity is the skill in the middle, and the specialization stat, the high-level striker maintains the current state, but the high-level striker, as in the one who has everything already set and done and also knows how to play it, but the everyone else basically who's playing striker and who are in the process of getting to that level where everything on your character is perfect will also show an increase in their potential, in their output in terms of endgame content. Devil Hunter, aka Deadeye for our Western version, quite many changes to it, and also the devs' comments are interesting. Devil Hunter is a class designed to achieve the highest damage depending on the skill level of the adventurer. Very interesting comment also to be kept in mind. But due to the fast actions and various attack elements of recent monsters, fast action means fast mechanics in recent raids, it is not able to show its power in high level content. Therefore, they made some adjustments to increase the base damage of the shotgun skills and some other tripods, and also to have one of their other imprints, which was not very much used, translated the handgunner, to be another viable option in content for them to try and really show their potential depending on the skill of the player. Blaster, aka Artillerist for us in the West, quite some changes here as well. Devs are saying that Blaster is slow, but it has excellent CC, damage and excellent survivability, so overall players take them in parties and people who play Blaster should be happy. However, they did make some changes to the Blaster, increasing a couple of things, interesting things, which I really hope that if you do play Blaster, at least in Russia, because then it's gonna come faster, this patch, than for us in the West, you would take note of this. Hawkeye, or Sharpshooter for us in the West, very few changes, and the devs are very happy with it apparently. Hawkeye has gradually increased its index since the last balance patch, and is currently ranked at the top in average damage, top 10% damage, and maximum damage in endgame content. So, thumbs up for the Hawkeye. However, one of their engravings was not showing enough love from the players, and because of that it was buffed to be an additional option for a Sharpshooter, a Hawkeye. to playing content. Scouter, a class that we won't have straight from the get-go, a very interesting class in my opinion, and the devs are saying that scouts are currently showing indicators of the appropriate level for the class vision, the class idea. However, having that said, they did change one of the two class engravings to be more pleasant to play, more appropriate for what their vision for that engraving was. Gunslinger next. Quite some changes to Gunslinger. Since the last balance patch, Gunslinger's index has gradually increased until recently, recording the highest average damage index in recent top content, and the maximum damage index is also confirmed to be at a very high level. So because of that, some skill damage has been lowered, but at the same time, because the party acceptance rate was not high enough, people didn't really take that many gunslingers in parties due to their survivability, and because of that they have changed the defense factor, increased it for the gunslingers. Summoners have been slightly nerfed in terms of PvP content, or maybe not just slightly. The devs did recognize that there were some summoner skills which were unreasonable. Also in the past months, summoners were generally on a rise. Their defense was though increased for PvE content only. Bards, the devs are saying that Bard is a welcome class in the party based on their excellent support skills, but they also said that they have increased the damage of some Bard skills, especially because Bards also have to sometimes be solo, and because of that the gameplay of a Bard cannot just be extremely boring, always needing to have someone else there with you. Arcana, a very interesting comment from the devs here. Quite some things were changed. Arcana is showing an excellent level of damage index in the endgame content. However, due to the introduction, or due to the importance of surviving and CC, the party rejection rate is very high, and although the performance deviation due to luck is the class concept, which means that the innate skill of the Arcana is basically based on luck, which card you get. You can get evasion or you can get crit, right? And they recognize that. They decided that the average damage index needs to be slightly higher, so more damage for the Arcana. Accordingly, we have increased the defense factor and CC values, improved mana recovery, and adjusted some card effects and draw probability together. So most likely we're gonna have more chances to draw good cards for the Arcana. And also one of their engravings was buffed to be actually viable in PvE content. Many changes, many positive changes for the Arcana. Sorceress, Arcana, a class that we won't have, by the way, in the Western version of the game. Sorceress is the most recent class in the game. Sorceress has been steadily increasing since its launch, and it is still growing. Due to the nature of the class being new, it is necessary to wait and see until many people they need more juice before they decide what to do with sorcerers. In the case of the ignition sorcerers, the damage of the top 10% in the endgame content is already at the top, and the maximum damage is unparalleled at the highest level. So yeah, you can imagine. I mean, you've probably seen videos of people just going absolutely ham with the sorcerers. Because of that, they did change how specialization affects the class in terms of damage, and also some of the skills that were considered unreasonable in PvP were also changed. Blade also had quite some changes, and the devs are saying that Blade is showing stable performance in various indicators such as damage, survivability, and also CC. They did make some changes to the class to make it a little bit more smooth in terms of combat. Demonic is a class that got some changes as well. The average damage has reached the top level in the endgame content, and it is also at decent level in places such as the top 10 percentile, damage and maximum damage, etc. However, they did make some improvements to perfect suppression, and in addition, the concept of the their innate power disappearing was also removed for a smoother gameplay. And lastly, the Reaper, which is a class that we won't have straight from day one in the West. Reaper is still showing good damage metrics even after the nerf they received in the previous balance patch. However, the party rejection rate in the endgame content is still too high, most likely because of the survival rate and their CC capabilities. Now here they have buffed the Reaper, their CC capabilities have been buffed, and also their survival rate hoping to be buffed by changing the PvE defense from 0.8 to 0.9. Probably worth mentioning that there are a few hairstyles for each class that have made their appearance with this patch, and also an option to select your voice, the voice of your character at character customization, which wasn't here so far, if you can believe it, for the past 3 years. I thank you guys as always for watching. I hope this video gave you some clarity as to where we're standing right now in terms of class balance. In case we will be getting this balance patch or part of this balance patch for our Western release, at least you know more about the classes that were buffed, nerfed, etc. Depends when our Western release will be. If it's in early January, then there is a chance we get this or some of this. If it's later, then maybe there's gonna be another balance patch. Until then, they're quite often, and I really hope that by me reading you the devs' comments and thoughts about what they're doing with classes and why, you would now understand that they're trying to get all of the builds and all of the specs with imprints, with classes in a good state, in a state in which is playable, accepted to groups, and they really do care about people playing various classes and enjoying them, or various builds, and they want to be taken to content and be viable and feel like they're doing a good job there. I thank you to those of you who are supporting me here on YouTube with the paid membership every month. I'm forever grateful to the 41 by now of you that are members of my channel. Thank you so much. And for everyone, I will see you in my next video really soon here on my YouTube channel. Take care and stay safe.